Hi, I'm Leanne from Crafter's Companion. We're going to continue with this tutorial and look at how we're going to use our fabulous new Spectrum Sparkle pens to watercolour. So you can get those beautiful soft diffuse looks, but with that really lovely shimmer in there that Spectrum Sparkle gives us. So I've already got one of my pens primed. This is a brown one. And I've got two of my cupcakes ready stamped. I've stamped them with StazOn, which is a permanent ink. Because the pen's a water-based dye, very important that you use a permanent ink when you're stamping your images. And I've stamped them onto a watercolour card. It's a standard Crafter's Companion one. We always have it in stock, so you can just get that on the website. And we're going to start and colour these in. Now, what I'm going to do, because I'm going to watercolour with it, I'm going to put a small amount of ink at one side. So you can see I'm just using the brush from the sparkle pen to apply that lovely brown ink on there that has that infused shimmer in. And I'm just putting it in the corner there. And then what I'm going to do is take a paintbrush. So I'm going to put that down once I've got a little bit on. And I think that's enough. And as that dries, you would see the shimmer, and I'll show you that in a second. But while it's still wet, I'm taking a regular paintbrush and I'm dipping it in some water. And then I'm going to take the majority of the moisture off by just touching it onto a piece of kitchen roll, because you want the brush to be damp, not wet. And then I'm going to move that ink to give that lovely watercoloured effect across the full base of the cupcake. Now what this does do is not only move the ink, but it moves the sparkle. So you won't have as an intense a shimmer in a concentrated area if you just used the ink neat from the pen, as we've done before in our tutorials. But actually I love that you can do this because it just gives you lots of options for the effect that you want to achieve. So you may not always want that intense solid colour. You may want more of a watercoloured effect that's got a little bit of subtle sparkle in there, and you can absolutely achieve that by just dragging it out with some water, as I'm doing here. So you can see I've finished moving that across. I've used a little bit of water and I've got that lovely shade from dark to light in the bottom of that little cupcake case there, and you'll be able to see the shimmer as it dries. That's still wet, so the shimmer won't be as obvious as if it was dry. And I'll force that dry in a second, because the next thing we're going to do is use some of our pink for the frosting, and we're going to do that in the same way we've just done the bottom one there. So I'm going to add some of the pink on, and this is just a very pale pink, so it'll be a very subtle effect, and I'm adding it at one side. And then I'm going to take my damp brush, and again remember a damp brush, not a wet brush, and I'm just going to drag that pink out. So I've got that lovely diffusion, that lovely watercoloured effect from the dark into the lighter, much more diffused. And remember, it'll move the dye, but it will also move the shimmer, so it is less intense in the area. It's not as solid, the shimmer, it's more of a subtle covering rather than a really intense solid block. So we'll just move that there, and then I've just noticed where I need some more brown. So I need a little bit of brown in here, inside and here. And then I'll move that. That's great. And there, okay. And then for the little cherry on top, I'm going to use red. And I'm going to do exactly the same as I did earlier. I'm putting it on half. I'm going to get my damp paintbrush and I'm going to colour, but drag that down. So it drags the dye, but it also drags the shimmer with it. So you'll get a subtle shimmer on there. Now, just to show you that, while I'm waiting for it to dry, I'm going to force it with my heat gun. And what you'll be able to see is where the shimmer is more intense where I first put the colour down, and then it's less intense, it dissipates where I've dragged it out with the water. Okay, that looks good to me. And then if I just pick this up, you'll be able to see that lovely shimmer. I hope, there we go. On the little side of the cupcake and on the frosting there, you can see it's just catching the light, lovely. And then the shimmer's more intense down this side. Now it might be that you want that watercoloured effect, but you want to maintain an intense shimmer all over. So what I'd like to do is show you how you can achieve that by the addition of the clear pen. So we're going to do that with the frosting. In fact, let's do the brown over here first. And I'm going to colour this whole thing in, just to show you the difference, colouring it in solid as to colouring it in with the water, as I've just done there. Okay, so that's solid colour now, and you'll see the difference in a sec. And then with the pink, what I'm going to do is put on where I want the frosting pink, so I'm going to follow around where the swirls are, put the pink on, but I don't want to drag this out with water, although I do want to build dimension. So I'm going to do something nifty with the clear pen. And I love to show you this because I think it really does just demonstrate how incredibly versatile these pens are and the fab effects you're going to be able to get with them. I'm just popping that on there to start with. And I'm just building up the layers because I want plenty of pink. But then I want to get the watercoloured effect, keeping that lovely dimension on there. So what I'm going to do is use my clear pen. And the clear pen can be used as a water brush, but with the clear sparkle in there, so you keep the intense shimmer, even though you're getting the watercolour effect. So you can see I'm using the clear pen just to drag down that pink colour, so I've got that lovely watercolour effect into the white space, getting that lovely dimension, as if it's been watercoloured with a water brush, but actually I'm using the clear sparkle, which means that I've got the intense shimmer everywhere with the effect of watercolour. Now, if I want to put in a little bit more pink, I can, because they're both the same types of pen. Just to build up that dimension. That's looking lovely and swirly. And then I can just drag that out with the clear if I want to do that. So the first thing you're going to ask me is when I show you that is, but what happens with the clear nib if it gets contaminated? So if you get dye ink on there. Now that's my answer to that is that's why I always have more than one clear pen that I'm using at any time. And it's why we do them in a pack of 3. Because you're going to keep one for your special effects like this, so you can watercolour with it. And if the nib of your pen gets stained, it's not going to affect the performance at all. But it just will look a bit grungy. And then I'll keep one which is completely clear for just colouring in things that I want to remain clear. What you can do, if you notice, I'll just show you that again, when you've got the red on the end there, I'm just going to do it beside, you can clean it by just wiping it on a piece of spare cardstock. You see, eventually that's gone clear again and the red has come off the nib. So you don't need to worry about that. You can clean it away, or you can just keep it for special effects. I'm just going to dry that up so you can see the difference between the two. And then pick that up and show you. So you can see that one, there we go, has that beautiful, intense, glittery shimmer all over the cupcake. And you can see on the frosting as well, even though it has the dimension between the pink and the white, how intense that shimmer is across the whole of the colouring in there and on the little cherry. And then as we move across, this one, because I did add water to it, it's a little less intense. It's much more subtle, that shimmer on there. But do you know what? That's okay, because that's what I wanted with that one. And I just wanted to show you the two different effects. So that's watercolouring with water and your pens, and this is doing the watercolour effect with the clear pen, which maintains that solid, intense shimmer all over the image. Now, because they're a water-based dye, we can also move on and have a look at how we can make new colours if we want to. So I've got 2 butterflies here that I've already stamped, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Now, I've also got a piece of acetate, which I'm just going to lift up and use as my palette. So this is just a piece of thick acetate. You could use a piece of packaging, a tile, a saucer, whatever you want. I've just got that on top of my white card so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to colour in my butterflies. Now, we could do exactly as I've just done by dragging the colours together, or we can mix new colours with our pens as well. So I'm going to start with a pink and a purple, which I like. Sorry, a pink and a blue to make purple, which I like both of these colours. And I'm starting with my pink garnet and my aquamarine. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint onto this butterfly there a little bit of that lovely pink garnet at the top here. Fab. And then I'm going to put a bit of the aquamarine down here. And you can see how that fine brush is fantastic for getting into those tiny details like that. I mean, just the best brush you could even hope for to be able to allow you to do that. Really, it is. I can't stress that enough. Now, what I could do if I want is mix those two together straight on the card. So I could use my damp brush again. So I've dipped it into water, and just to show you what I'm doing there, I'm just taking the excess water off on my kitchen roll. So I'm just touching it. So a damp brush, not a wet brush. And then I'm just going to bring the two colours together. And then in the middle, where they meet, you can see they're fusing to make that lovely lilac colour, which takes us from the pink that I've got here, down into the blue, and then where they meet, that lovely purple. So you can see that there. You can see how you're going from pink, from purple into blue by just mixing the two together on the piece of card. We can also mix new colours using a palette. So I've just got my acetate here underneath my 2 stamped images, and I've got the 2 pens that I used to get this grade of colour between the pink, the purple and the blue. And you can see that there. I'm just going to pick that up. It looks really lovely, doesn't it? You can see the difference between the 3. If I wanted to mix more of that purple colour for the inside here, rather than having to put them both together, I can just mix a colour. And I'm going to do a full tutorial on this on its own, using some different techniques, but I just wanted to show you this very quickly now while we're looking at the butterfly and watercolouring. So you can see those two are the pink and the blue that I've used for the butterfly. And then with my damp paintbrush again, and again not wet, damp, what I can do is just mix these 2 colours together and create a brand new colour that didn't exist before. And that's because they're a water-based dye, and a really good quality water-based dye. So if I just move my butterfly around again, you'll be able to see that I can pick up the ink that I've just created from the palette and paint that new colour directly onto my butterfly. And the sparkle is still in there. You don't lose the sparkle because it was in the dye, but you've just got a brand new sparkly colour that did not exist before. Pop that on. Now we've got a couple of options at this point. You could, if you wanted to keep that solid colour, of course, just paint it all over. You could now, if you want, clean your brush. Don't pick up any more purple from the palette and just drag that colour out so you get that watercolour effect. But remember, by doing that, it does reduce the intensity of the sparkle, because not only do you drag out the dye colour, but you drag out the glitter as well. So we'll do that on these first two at the top. So you lessen the intensity basically. If you want to maintain the intensity of that new purple colour, you would just pick up your clear pen. Now there it is. Oh, I've lost my clear pen. And with your clear pen, watercolour it back in. So you're using that brand new purple that you mixed from the pink and the blue with your clear pen and creating a brand new all over sparkly watercoloured effect. I just think that is absolutely incredible, because it means you haven't just got the colours that we've put together in the sets for you. You become your own artist, your own chemist, your own mixer, whatever it is you want to call yourself, and you can create custom colours perfectly suited to whatever project you want to work on. And I think that's really unique and really just a fantastic thing to be able to do with a colouring medium such as these. And I must admit, I do prefer to watercolour with the clear pen, as you've seen me do here, because I adore the sparkle. I don't want to reduce it at all. I want to make it as sparkly as I possibly can. And by doing that, that's exactly what I can do. So I'm just going to dry that, even though it's not finished, because I want you to see how fabulously sparkly those bits are that I've just done with the clear pen. And then I've got a different one already done in a different colour, just to show you how lovely it is when it's all finished. I'm going to pick this up and show you. I can see how lovely it is. You'll be able to see in a sec. Okay, and if I just pick that up and angle that there, I'm hoping you'll be able to see that lovely shimmer. There we go. You can see that lovely shimmer on there. It really is just exquisite. I love it. Okay, so use your water and a brush and a regular paint brush to get that lovely watercolour effect if that's what you want to do. Or, as we've just done, use your clear to get that really intense watercoloured finish. And then just to show you a little butterfly that I did earlier, using that technique of mixing different colours, you can see here how beautiful that is with the green and the yellow, creating that lovely ombre between the two different colours, and how intense that sparkle is. It really is just beautiful.